So I'm thinking that we got the choice here is between the Camaro, or the Bronco. 4x4 capabilities versus speed. The kind of things I want to do, I think that if I was to buy the Camaro, I would regret not buying the Bronco. But if I buy the Bronco, I'm not going to regret not buying the Camaro. So I think the Bronco's the way to go. Jim?
I think so.
Let's go down and buy some Bronco. Fuck, that's a big dog. I've never seen a Mastiff that big. I've seen Mastiffs, and that's a big fucking dog. This is the Seer Mystic dog who can foretell the future.
It doesn't quite look anywhere, it just kind of looks.
He's like that blind guy from Kung Fu.
Oh, yeah.
Hit me. Wow, they're all like totally checking us out, eh? They're all like, who are these guys? So. Fuck that dog, man. Like shit, man. It all goes sideways. That dog's taking over the neighborhood. That dog be named Conan. If that was my dog, his name would be Conan, and that is how that would work. I checked online with the what people have said about these, and apparently they say they're bomb-proof. Should we look for rust, or I guess does it matter?
It's not far to look.
What's that?
Just on
yeah, I know, but I mean on the frame and shit.
Well, up until 2 years ago, it was on the road.
It's not everywhere. I use it as a plumbing truck. I run over to Victoria and back.
Our kids are going to miss it because we used to pop off the top.
Oh, the canopy all the time.
Well, as long as they don't like throw fruit at me and stuff as I drive by, that's fine, you know. But she's getting painted, I'll tell you that right off the top. Yeah.
You can't paint the pumpkin.
The great pumpkin.
You can't paint the pumpkin.
If there's any consolation, I'm going to be next door. So if
we can visit it.
So he can that's important to a man, you know. I know you were kind of glib there when you were like telling him to get rid of it and stuff, but
Probably want the hood down, too.
Want to close the hood? Alive. Sold. Whew. Oh. You don't mind if I buy your pumpkin, do you? Oh, I feel terrible.
This broke a little boy's heart.
You're laughing, man. What are you talking about? Who am I giving money to, you or her?
Me.
You?
Yeah, I get the cash.
There's $7.50. Yeah. I only gave you 6, so it's...
Why would I know where your drive shaft went, honey?
I can see a tear in his eye.
I know, it's terrible. It's like, I'm taking away this kid's truck.
Yeah, well, you won't jerk as much in second. A little more gas than that.
I'm still just getting used to this thing. I've never driven a truck.
Fine. The proud owner.
Ah, yes. He's the proud owner.
She has a lovely little car behind a big ugly truck, which the little kid called the pumpkin, and he said, "We're selling the pumpkin," and I'm like, fucking dying over here. I'm like, wow, great. He's gonna grow up here and an axe murderer. The final words. Where's my pumpkin?
Yeah, you better sell it in 10 years.
There'll be like this glint of recognition when I'm in my senior years and this young, totally ripped biker's gonna show up and be like, you! And I'm like, oh, I know you. You're mad because I bought your pumpkin. Make it quick. Shopping isn't necessarily bad. In my world, everything is sold by small stores, by small people. People buy and sell goods, they move it around. It's family run. And instead of having large shopping malls where everyone charges exorbitant rent just for the space to be able to sell some goods, I envision a world where there's nothing but small marketplaces, like you'd find at a flea market or even at the Richmond night market. It's a good idea to check out how these stalls are all set up. There's people here selling bleeding edge tech, Bluetooth hardware, everything you could possibly need in any cyberpunk setting. If you check back to movies like Blade Runner, Max Headroom, that's where the future is going. That's where it has to go if you're going to compete against the core political. Small markets are the places to go to find black market tech, illegal tech, things that nobody really wants you to have but are available. The night market is another way of saying the black market. But does that make it illegal? Does that make it bad? Just because the corporations don't want you buying their imitation Nike sweatshop shirts? It doesn't make sense. So what does make sense is for you to have choice. You can choose to either go to the mall or to substitute instead of a mall, you need a place to go. It's unrealistic to sit at home and just think, I'm going to hang out and do nothing. No, what you need to do is have a place like these flea markets, like these night markets, like these illegal black markets where you can go to buy your wares at a price that you think is fair. And after all, who loses there? Only the core politicals. Sounds okay to me. My name's Sean Kennedy, and I am the fucking man. Trail mix. Trail mix is expensive. Very, very pricey to make. But it's called trail mix because you would be on a trail expending a lot of energy and you'd have to replace that energy in your body. So you'd have this, something you could reach in your pocket, take out a handful of trail mix and throw it down range. You must be very, very, very careful with trail mix because you will get fat if you eat a lot of trail mix. However, if you happen to be very active, say you're a cyclist, bike courier, that kind of a thing, and you need to have a quick pick-me-up or you wish to augment your prepackaged lunch by adding trail mix to it, makes for a nice change and something you can snack on throughout the day. It's okay to eat 1 bag of trail mix over an 8-hour span. It's not okay to eat 8 bags of trail mix in a 1-hour span. That is not good. You will get fat. But that said, let's get into the joy that is trail mix. Now normally what you would do is you would go to the bulk section of your local, supermarket or something, and you will find the pre-packaged, pre-mixed trail mix. Trail mix used to be pretty sexy stuff, but now it's kind of getting a little bit sad. They bulk up on the cheap goods, they bulk up on the raisins, a few measly little pieces of dried fruit, your occasional soy nut, which is what these ones are, some dried peas, and God knows whatever else they swept off the dried fruit floor. So this is kind of your base, and you're paying a premium for this. You even got little chunks of granola-esque sort of cereal here. I'll throw in there and you pay a premium for that. But for the first time you make trail mix, sure, get yourself, a couple 100 grams of that, and a nice big bowl, and that's your base. That's where you're starting from. Pretty boring. You look at that and you think, well, not a lot going on there. So, next you look at this and say, what do I want more of? Well, I like dried fruit myself. Lots of sugar there, really tasty, adds to the flavor of it. So the next thing we do is you add some, for me, now, again, the bulk bin is loaded with all kinds of crazy things that'll make you fat. You can put chocolate in there, whatever you want. So you have to be kind of, look at the pricing, see what's cheap. Sometimes dried apricots are a little bit cheaper, but this is just sort of your conglomerate mixture of simply dried fruit. You got some dried apricots in there, a couple of currants, some cranberries, but again, a lot of raisins. That's okay though, that's all right. So we take your dried fruit, augment that, mix it up a bit. Get your hands in there, mix it up. Now that looks definitely a whole Jimmy Whack better. But we want to, kind of build it up a little bit further. You got your base and you added some dried fruit to it. Okay, I've gone with a nut-rich trail mix where again, they bulked up on your raisins. This is why it's very rare that you buy raisins to put in your trail mix. But you got some peanuts here, probably some cashews, stuff of this nature. Kind of a nutty trail mix sort of mixture here. So I'm going to add that in because this one seems like I got soy nuts and dried fruit, a couple of seeds. Add the other nuts, mix it up. Now that is the way trail mix used to look about 10 years ago when you bought it. That would be good, high quality trail mix. And if you were to buy this kind of quality, a quantity of trail mix in one particular batch, you wouldn't get this sort of diversity, those kind of flavors. Now this is a pretty solid base, so we're gonna augment that a little bit. Now, I'm gonna commit a cardinal sin and I'm gonna put raisins into the trail mix. But they're not just any raisins, they're yogurt covered raisins. Because these are crack. There's not much you can do. I mean, I could eat this whole thing right now. They're so yummy. Oh my God. So yogurt covered raisins, I enjoy. And it adds sort of color, it adds to the appearance. You know, it's like when you go to them really fancy restaurants and they cut like, you know, a swan out of a pineapple or something like that. Very, very cool to do. In goes there. Again, mix it up. Fit for a king. Look at that, hot. This is why it's very important for you to get a big bowl. Because bear in mind, you're buying just little packages, like 150, 200 grams each, and you just mix them in and add them up. So gradually, eventually, this bowl is getting more and more full. Now that we've got it to a sexy kind of phase where you're individualizing your trail mix, so there's a real art to this, you know? I mean, eventually it'll be like, you can sample other people's trail mix, you'd be like, ooh, I really like your trail mix. How did you build that? Very, very good. It's all configuration, like most things. Next, something which has been largely forgotten in the trail mix world is dried bananas. Loaded with potassium, good for joints, good for muscle recovery, and generally they're loaded with sulfites, which is kind of bad for you, but who cares, because it's yummy. So we take this and we go throw in your dried bananas. Now, banana chips, again, they're kind of inexpensive, and you might wind up breaking some when you mix them in, but they make for a nice augmentation to your trail mix. And now you can see that we're getting some decent size going on here. Definitely more than one serving going on. Okay, so we got some dried bananas in there. And now, my own personal addition to the trail mix. This kind of a thing will keep you the energy going, but I like adding a little something to it. Now, I would not advise eating this stuff for more than 3 days without sleep, because you'll begin to hallucinate, which is something I discovered because I always add chocolate-covered coffee beans to my trail mix. It's a simple thing to do. I don't know why more people don't do it, but it seems that I've never actually seen it done. I've never seen people apply chocolate-covered coffee beans to trail mix. Seems kind of obvious to me, but I suppose not a lot of people do. So, once you got all those chocolate-covered coffee beans in there, a nice solid mixture, and you are good to go. Now that is without a doubt some really good wog chow. Now, the temptation is to sit down with your entire Ghost in the Shell collection and put that down range. This is bad. You'll get about halfway through that before, one, you'll probably get diarrhea from all the coffee beans, and well, you probably get the shakes, and God knows what else will happen to you, because you gotta think of it like a fuel. I mean, this is pretty powerful stuff. We got a lot of nutrients and things going on with this stuff. So you gotta break it down a bit. And I'm gonna use a kind of a bag, some type of sealable bag, and you take a 1 cup measuring cup, and you must be very, very disciplined about this. Don't load up. You take 1 scoop, put it in a bag, don't waste it, seal your bag. Sometimes I put an elastic band around it. That is 1 serving of trail mix. Don't eat more than 1 serving a day or you're going to get fat. But as you can see, I've still got a lot more trail mix here. So just by this 1 episode, you go hit your supermarket, load up on your trail mix, do your mixture, and you can make yourself quite a few days worth of supplies. Or, you know, you can just kind of say, well, screw that, Sean, I'm really, really active. I'd really like to have like 2 or 3 servings. That's fine, but bear in mind, this trail mix stuff is pretty deadly. You can get pretty fat eating it, but it is so very yummy. And after all, none of this is any good unless it tastes good. My name's Sean Kennedy, and I am the fucking man.
Somebody as rigid as anything, it's his way, nobody.
In my opinion, it is always best to have your hair cut by a barber. Reason for this is, and you want to make sure it's the same barber all the time, because they get used to how your hair looks, how everything works. But if you travel a lot, you can't have your hair cut all the time by the same barber. It helps to have a haircut passport, which means you go to your favorite barber and you get the haircut. And then you have to set it up so that you know exactly how your hair looks, so you can give it to your next barber so they know how to make your hair look perfect every time. This is the purpose of the haircut passport, and that's why every wog has got one. So let's go in and talk to Ray. He gives the best haircuts in Western Canada. So how's Ray been?
Very good, very good. What about that trip when you went to New York?
Yeah, we did that. We went to New York. That was a trip. We went down, I spoke at a college down there at the Adirondacks, and the Message of Independent Media, and that was a lot of fun. And that went really well. I was actually in New York for Chinese New Year, which I didn't know that was happening, but it turns out I happened to be in Chinatown for Chinese New Year.
Event, eh?
Well, they had, you know, the lion dancers and all that going on, and in New York, I mean, everything's just, you know, crazy, so.
How'd you find it? I mean, like the people and stuff.
You know, I found New York to be friendly, really, really friendly. I thought it was the most friendly city I'd ever been in. I couldn't believe it. People think that, you know, like New York, you know, I think it's all hardcore. It wasn't. It was totally friendly. I was sitting in a subway down there, and this guy, like, you're trying to get somewhere, and you say the name of where you're trying to get to, like you're like, you know, Penn Station or something, and people will stop because they heard you say that, and they'll like go out of their way to make sure you get on the right train and everything. It was unreal. Now, tell me a little bit.
Okay, just before we get started here.
Sure.
How short are we going to take it?
We're doing. Remember when I was down here before, and I got that like almost. It was almost an Iroquois, where it was like skin right down the sides and psychotically short on top.
Yeah, it was psychotic.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
And then if we want to do like the Iroquois thing, we can.
Yeah, we can always make it shorter, but the main thing was you got to get that length on top right.
Now, why is it that everybody uses guides and stuff, and you're just on a bare razor there, with nothing, and you're able to do that? Because no one else can seem to do that. Why is that?
The main thing, you want the hair to stand on it straight up. You want it to bend over to the left or right. The hair is nice and soft, and we're going to take this pretty tight on the sides here, like you said, right?
What's going on?
I know a little bit about everything, but nothing, not a lot about anything. It's a joke.
A little bit of knowledge.
That hurts. What they say about a little bit of knowledge is the dangerous thing. We're going to have to turn you around.
Okay.
Just get back to this.
Sure. Where are we going with the glasses?
Okay. Now, we're going to...
What do you think?
Okay,
wow, that looks great, right?
Well, I just want to get... It isn't finished yet. I just got one side taken up here.
Right.
Now, I'm going to... Because you were turned away from the mirror, I can't straighten this out here. They can't stop that internet.
No, they can't. Well, it was designed to prevent against nuclear weapons, eh? That was the whole idea, is that they built it originally to stand up, to keep the infrastructure of communication going in event of nuclear attack. And it was originally between universities. And then, of course, it once there was the big speech made calling it the information superhighway, and then it kind of blossomed from there. And now there's folks like me and Sim and RANT Media and everybody who just, that's what we do. We try to, like the news show I do is I cover news that nobody else covers. And thanks for being a good sport with the camera and everything, Ray. You know, you're just a prince for that, man.
No problem.
And James, I am also of the realization that since I don't have my wallet, I'm going to have to get you to front for the haircut too, and I'll pay you back when we get back home.
Bastard.
Sorry, man.
You're just gonna have to work it off.
No.
Sweep the floor or something.
Yeah, that's what it is.
If it was the 1950s, that would be a very respectable haircut.
Oh yeah, totally.
Actually, you're right.
Oh yeah.
Well, I do a lot of brush cuts. Most common asked question is, you still do brush cuts? And I says, they never went out.
Yeah, well,
I do more brush cuts today than I did, well, the same. I never, it's the same amount.
Really?
People think that, well, hair went short, brush cuts were in.
Well, I suppose if
And
you're like...
it's when the hair gets long that brush cuts go out.
Yeah.
And they're like brush cuts. When everybody starts growing the hair longer, then brush cuts die down a bit. But the people that have brush cuts keep them. That's what I found out.
So if you're like a time traveler, the flat top would be the half cut.
It's the one that can travel the best.
Yeah, I would say so. I would think so.
Take the
Yeah, I
best
know.
of it.
That's it, man.
Hey! Can I keep it all? It's real too.
Here you
All
go.
right, you're finished, man.
Okay, thanks now.
Once you've had your haircut, you've got it exactly the way you want it, the next step is to take the haircut passport and make the haircut passport. To do this, you need to take a digital camera and you take a shot from the front, from the sides, both sides, and from the back. And then you just simply print them out, keep them with you inside your wallet, inside of a little, like a photo case or something like that. Anytime you buy a wallet, you usually get those annoying things you're supposed to keep pictures of your family in, which no one ever does. So what you do is you take those little plastic things out and you shove your WOG pictures in there and boom, good to go. You got your haircut passport. Want to get your hair cut at least once every 2 weeks, because if you wait longer than that, you wind up with the same effect I had, where it looks like you've been attacked savagely by some sort of weird cult. So the number one thing is you want to keep it nice and steady, and that keeps the same very adapted to how you look. You know, the first time you show up with this haircut, they're like, oh, geez, your hair's short. You're like, yeah, it's for the summer, you know, the barber, you know, he did a heck of a job. I don't know what he's doing, you know, but anyway, I guess his hair is really nice though. And they talk, well, I guess it's kind of cool, you know, it's like a lot of people shave their heads and that. Same sort of idea. So, and the importance though to get a haircut once you got it the way you want it, the importance of the haircut passport is of course the importance of having a digital camera. Me, I use one of these. It's one of the James Bond digital cameras, which is a surveillance camera which you can buy for about 80 bucks. Takes a pretty low quality image really when you get right down to it. But when you need to just take a photo of like some information you want to keep track of, or perhaps you want to take a photo of an instant, there's a lot of ways you can make little movies with these. You can sit them down and like have it open and have it take a series of photographs every so many minutes. So if you were somewhere that you weren't allowed to be taking pictures, which is just a ridiculous rule really, you should, because if you can't, like really, what are pictures other than just a captured version of what you see? So if you're not allowed, saying you're not allowed to take pictures is a lot like saying you're not allowed to see this, and we're not allowed to record this because this isn't really happening. Not being able to film is ridiculous. It's a stupid law, okay? It doesn't make sense. How is filming in any way hurting anyone? All it's doing is recording what's actually happening. So in essence, filming is really the greatest personification of what the truth is. Now, when you take film and you alter it to have like a certain angle or whatever, then yes, obviously you're creating influence. But even still, is what Michael Moore or what George Bush does with their film propaganda, is that illegal? No. Is it immoral? Questionable. But I don't think it should be made illegal, not by any stretch of the imagination. So now we have the ability to spend $80 at ThinkGeek or any number of places that would carry an item like this, and you will get yourself a James Bond surveillance camera that looks like a Zippo lighter. Do you realize how incredibly powerful that is? For $80, you can get an item which 25 years ago would have had you sentenced to death. This is an item that 25 years ago didn't exist. We have the ability to record sound, video, media. You can record the goings on, and I think it can take up to like 20 minutes of movies. And this is nothing. This thing's a toy. Okay, the quality is garbage when you're done, but you have the ability to capture it. This is amazing. This is amazing. This is the kind of thing that happens when you look at your laptop for the first time. When you sit back and you realize, my God, what I have here is a computer. It's an amazing computer that has the ability to connect me with the entire world. I have more resources than any king in medieval times. I have the ability now to affect my environment and increase my mind to the levels at which university students 50 years ago couldn't dream. We have resources, connectivity to conspiracy files, to secret information like we've never had before, but most of us are too bored or too apathetic or too drugged, maybe too depressed. Maybe we got too much chloroform from all the tetracycline and our toothpaste and whatnot, but for some reason we just don't care. We don't pay attention to what's going on around us. But few of us, those of us wogs out there, we take media and we record it and we share it because we know what's happening in the real world. My name is Sean Kennedy, and I am the fucking man. A lot of people understand the WOG lifestyle. A lot of people like the WOG clothing, the WOG look of things, but they're not willing to take the final steps, the most essential steps of being a WOG, which is controlling your influences. People are still watching lots of TV. Well, I just like this show and I just like that show. Okay, that's fine. If you want to watch the shows, buy the DVDs. Acquire the programs without the programming. That's a good idea. But what's not a good idea is for you to keep accepting all this influence into your life. Your brain is an engine. It's cells and matter and neurons that have processes that people are placing millions of dollars into to hack your head. And the more ports you have open, the more vulnerable you are. First of all, you need to read. You need to read, and you need to read the right things. Yes, okay, fine. If you're not reading at all, you can read whatever you want. Don't read magazines, for God's sakes. Read something, well, unless it's an ad magazine like Adbusters or something like that, but don't read mainstream. You can't. You've got to read, there's all kinds of books, all kinds of fiction, non-fiction, literature that explains what, have you read 1984? Have you actually read 1984? Everyone talks about George Orwell's 1984. Have you read it? Probably not. So read the book. Read Snow Crash. Read Islands in the Net. Read all these books that are like prophecy. We need to read these things. You need to read into your reality. You need to be able to read into your reality. This is the whole point. If you can't control what goes into your brain, then you're not going to control what comes out of your mouth. This is just very basic common sense. The
whole point of being a WOG doesn't start out here with your clothing. It starts up here. It's all in the mind. You've got to get outside of the box, and so that you can look at the box and help others get outside of the box. That's how we're going to win this thing. We can't just stand back and let corporations walk all over us and the core political mindset just govern what we see, hear, and read. Ben Bendikian's Media Monopoly said that by this time, only 7 people would control everything we see, hear, and read. 7 people. So what are you missing? What's going on in the world? I do the best I can, but there's only so much I can do. You have just as much capability as I do to infiltrate into society, to infiltrate into the core political structure, to infiltrate into the world. Find this information out. Get this information to who? To the fellow WOGs, so we all become stronger. This is what independent media is for. Don't hate the media, become the media. But before we can do any of that, you have to control your influences. What makes youth say what is cool? What defines cool to you? Who tells you cool? Is it the television? Is it the Oscars? Is it, modern films that are coming out in multi-million-dollar megabuck theaters? Is that what's telling you what's cool? All the little soda cans and everything all strategically placed? None of that is by accident. None of that's by accident. We all have role models for people that don't exist. That's who we're all trying to be. It's a nightmare. I don't know how that works. How did that happen? That's not what I wanted, but yet we all believe it. And what's worse is we know we believe it, we know it's wrong, and there's nothing we can do about it. That's insane. That's insane. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know how that works. Yet, everyone just kind of blindly moves along, accepting more and more data. That's fire hose for you. They turn the fire hose on, everyone takes from there. You only get what comes out of the fire hose. You have to spread out. You have to make sure that you explore other options. Fringe thinkers, fringe idea, fringe artists. Yeah, there's a lot of wackos out there, and maybe I'm one of them. But the point is, you have to go to external media sources. You have to control what goes into your mind. It's your choice. It's your head. If you don't decide what programs your personality, you can guarantee someone else will. My name is Sean Kennedy, and I am the fucking man.